Good afternoon. Welcome to the PantherLair show here on TribLIVE Radio. I am Chris Peak, publisher of PantherLair.com. That is the internet's most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news, whether it's football, basketball, or recruiting. We have it all right there for you at Panther-Lair.com. And once a week, we get here in the TribLIVE studios and talk to you about Pitt sports for an hour, 2 to 3 every week. Usually Thursdays. This week we're going to go Wednesday since Pitt plays tomorrow, and certainly a lot of our conversation today is going to circle around that game, Pitt's NCAA tournament game. I call it the opening round game or the first round game. We get it all cut up in our second round, third round, whatever. You know what it is. It's their first game of the NCAA tournament. And of course, Panthers taking on Colorado, the number 8 seed in the South region. We'll preview Colorado, get the perspective from the other side from Adam Munster-Tiger. He's the publisher of BuffStampede.com. That's the Rivals.com Colorado site. And then we'll bring on our own guy, Matt Steinbrink, who covers basketball for PantherLair.com, and he'll give us the Pitt perspective. And then at the end of the hour, we'll do a little spring football talk because the Panthers open spring practice on Sunday. They've got a couple practices in the books and a few things to observe there. They haven't practiced in pads, but there's a few things to look at. But the main topic, of course, it's the NCAA tournament. Really gets started on Thursday. There have been games, the first 4, the play-in, whatever you want to call them, really gets started on Thursday. And this is the best time. I mean, people always throw that around that this is the best time of year. It truly is, especially Thursday and Friday, when you just have games non-stop, when you've got so many games going on. So there's 16 games each day. It's just tremendous. They're just non-stop games. I can still remember the first wireless router I ever bought in my life. I was living in an apartment in Lawrenceville, and I bought it the Wednesday before the NCAA tournament starts because my modem was in the back room and the TV was in the front room. And I wanted to have the computer out in the TV room so I could watch the games and be on the internet at the same time. I bought a wireless router specifically for that. So, it's just that time of year. It's fun to watch all these games. Pitt, as you know, number 9 seed in the South region. They play on Thursday at 1:40 p.m. And, I was just talking to John about it. I think they got the seed they deserved. I think it's a credit to Pitt fans that they're not complaining too awful much about Pitt's seed. I think it's more or less what they deserved to get. And for all the talk that we have throughout the year about the non-conference schedule and tangible results and whether it did this or did that or helped them or hurt them, here we have some real tangible results. This is a direct result of the non-conference schedule. If you don't want to be a 9 seed when you win 25 games, schedule better in your non-conference. I mean, it's really that simple. Plus the lack of quality wins. You can't disregard that as well. They had their chances to get some quality wins during the regular season against the RPI top 50. And they had the Stanford game, but Stanford slipped. I don't think the committee gave them a whole lot of credit for that. And beyond that, they didn't get anything until the North Carolina game in the ACC tournament. And by that point, I think it was too late. They had the 2 Syracuse games, they had the Virginia game, they had the Duke game, and they blew them all. They had the North Carolina game during the regular season too, and they blew them all. And when you don't get any quality wins, you don't play anybody in the non-conference, it doesn't matter if you win 25 games, you get a 9 seed, which is what they deserved. Now, if they won, maybe one of the Syracuse games or the Virginia game or something like that, maybe they move up to an 8 seed, although there's really not that much of a difference. I mean, the 8s and 9s are so close. When you look at those 8 teams, it's not a huge separation between the 8 seeds and the 9 seeds. And either way, if you win, you get a 1 seed. So it's not that exciting. Maybe if Pitt wins a couple of those top 50 games, they move up to a 7 seed, and then they could avoid the 1 seed for a while. But either way, the focus is on what Pitt does with its number 9 seed. The Panthers, I think they're in a good place right now. They're feeling good, and they should be feeling good. You have the Clemson win to end the regular season. First time all year they won a game like that, a close one. Then they go into the ACC tournament, and they blow out Wake Forest, their first blowout win since January. Then they went took on North Carolina. They basically handled North Carolina all game. I know in the final 5 minutes or so it got close because Carolina pressed, and Pitt looked like it had never faced a press before. But they still were in control of that game, really start to finish, certainly the first 35 minutes, and then they just missed against the number 1 seed, Virginia. So they're playing some good basketball right now, maybe their best basketball of the season, and they're feeling good about it. And the truth is, we haven't seen this team play this well since January. February was a month of horrors for Pitt. You go back, I was looking at it today just to refresh my memory of how bad that month was for the Panthers. They have the blowout loss to Duke on January 27th. Then they lose on a buzzer beater to Virginia. They have to go to overtime to beat Miami and Virginia Tech, and that shouldn't happen. Then they lose on the Tyler Ennis prayer against Syracuse at the Peterson Event Center. Then they lose a close one at North Carolina. Then they lose at home to Florida State. They barely get by Boston College and Notre Dame, which those two wins aren't any more impressive than barely getting by Miami and Virginia Tech. And then you have that huge upset loss to NC State, a game you were winning at home. A 10-game stretch from January 27th to March 3rd. They went 4-6, and every single game, even the wins, was a blow to momentum and a blow to confidence. Now, after the last 4 games, this team has some momentum. This team has some confidence, and I think they need it. I think if you watched Pitt during that 10-game stretch, you could see that those games, it was deflating for the players. You could see it in the way they played. They saw games getting away from them, and they couldn't do anything about it. I think because they felt that end coming up, that bottom coming up against Florida State, against NC State, they felt it coming, and they just couldn't stop it. But rebounding like they did, and I'm talking about rebounding, bouncing back, not necessarily their work on the glass, although it was good in the ACC tournament. Rebounding like they did in the Clemson game in the ACC tourney was huge. Because when this team is confident, it's loose. And when it's loose, it plays well. Look at the Wake Forest game. Look at the first 35 minutes of the North Carolina game, even the Virginia game. The team played looser, and the team played better. That's where Pitt is right now, and that's a good thing. It should be good enough to push them past Colorado in this first game on Thursday, and then you see what happens against the number 1 overall seed Florida on Saturday. Stay confident, stay loose, you give yourself a chance. It's going to be a tough one, but you'll give yourself a chance. Coming up, we will see what the story is on the Colorado side of things when we talk to Adam Munstertiger. He's the publisher of BuffStampede.com. He covers Colorado basketball for Rivals.com. We'll get his perspective on this game. We'll also talk to PantherLair.com basketball analyst Matt Steinbrink for his perspective on the game, and talk